Hello, welcome to today's episode of Juice in the Numbers, not the Movies podcast. Although Oscar season is upon us, so check out Juice in the Big Screen, where Corwin and I talk about movies. But welcome to this week's episode of Juice in the Numbers, your statistics and sports podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Tracy.
I'm Corwin.
And we missed an episode last week. We're gonna miss another episode this week. Corwin was on vacation last week for the latter half of the week. I'm on vacation this week for the latter half of the week. So this is the only one for this week. This is the only one you're getting, and it's late because honestly, fuck you. You get what you get when you can get it. You know, it's such is life.
I have to agree with you. Everyone, just go fuck yourself.
Yeah, it's been my general attitude for quite some time these past few weeks, but whatever.
Years.
In my entire existence, my first words out of the womb were "eat shit and die." And here we are today. And that has progressed appropriately into me in my mid-late 20s having a podcast. That's the exact progression. Everyone followed that exact same line. So there you go. Anyway, so because in the span of 1 week, so much has happened between the two major sports that we talk about, between MLB and the NFL, we're just going to kind of make this one just the one. We're going to talk about MLB transactions today. We'll save NFL transactions for when I'm back next week to record. So today we're just going to focus on MLB stuff because a lot of big things have happened. While there's still room for smaller stuff to, accumulate and for rosters to continue to shake out a little bit, figured with the amount of big things that have happened, probably better to start there. So Corwin Heller, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So I guess let's start with free agents. Well, that's how we're probably going to divvy this up. We'll go in terms of contract size for free agents, and then we'll go in terms of linear transactions for trades. So in terms of contract size, the second biggest contract of this free agency period was doled out recently in what is honestly really a head scratcher. I mean, really a head scratcher for so many reasons. And that is Kris Bryant signed a $182 million contract, 7 years, 26 AAV with the Colorado Rockies. And man, I can't figure that out to save my goddamn life.
Can anyone? Literally, has anyone figured out what their plan was or is?
And this is just, has it been 2 seasons? I think we're heading into the second season since they gave $50 million to the St. Louis Cardinals for taking Nolan Arenado.
I don't know.
No,
because last year had to have been the first season.
That's what I'm saying, right? It had to have been. Yeah. I mean, this is fucking puzzling.
Obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is, why would you pay to get rid of an arguably better, not arguably, a better player just to replace him with another massive contract, massive long-term contract?
Well, and you got to think, it's not just Arenado that they traded away. They also didn't re-sign Trevor Story, which we'll get to obviously in a minute. So it's not just one big contract that they effectively got rid of. It's really 2 to take on another one. Right? I don't know.
I don't know, Josh. I don't know why. I don't know what they possibly think would be the advantageous trajectory of this team,
and
paying to get rid of one contract, getting rid of another contract, and then signing a big name free agent as if it's astonishing.
So are you ready? I'm going to hit you with the top 5 people on the Colorado Rockies payroll. Are you ready? Charlie Blackmon with $21.3 million due to him this year at the age 36. Kris Bryant, $18 million. Okay, all makes sense. Herman Marquez, $11.3 million, still makes sense. CJ Cron, that's 7.25, and then Antonio Senzatella at 7.25, and then after that,
Because of course, yeah.
is just a cavalcade of, oh, right, that guy. Like, Julius Chassin is apparently on this roster for this year, slotted to make $1.25 million. Okay. Wow. Sure. You got it. I mean, it's a puzzling roster, which is why I think Corwin and I are both really struggling to make, I mean, just any kind of sense of it. It's wild.
So you have Chris Bryant signed through his age 36 season. Okay. You have German Marquez still in arbitration. Okay. He's your only startable pitcher if you were ever to compete. Who do you have that's young, you're gonna build around while you still have Chris Bryant and hopefully German Marquez? I mean, Charlie Blackmon, like you said, is our top paid player here, 36 years old already. This might be his last goddamn year for all we know. And nobody, I mean, they have no outstanding young talent whatsoever.
The youngest player on this roster is is 23. I missed him. Ryan Vilade. Corwin, I defy you to tell me what position Ryan Vilade plays.
But I don't. He's a relief pitcher because I've never heard of him, and there's no. That's just what he.
His Baseball Reference lists his positions as left fielder and pinch runner. He had an OPS plus last season of -58. Granted, 3 games, but oh boy, that's hilarious.
Let's look up the Rockies farm system. Let's see what they have to cook with.
That's the thing. It's not good. It's not good. So all right, so you got Ryan Vilade at 23. Then you got Brendan Rodgers at 25. Brendan Rodgers will be heading into like his 4th big league season. Last year, he had a pretty okay year, a 102 OPS plus at predominantly second base. Not a lot of power, especially for Coors, 15 home runs, 21 doubles, so very much like a high contact guy for his part.
Vilade?
Vilade. I tried to do it as phonetically as I could because, boy, howdy, I do not know how to pronounce that man's name.
He is currently the Rockies' number 5 prospect.
And but that's what I'm saying. So good or bad, it's not a problem for me playing your number 5 prospect, because for me, it's like, all right, if you're playing prospects, play your prospects. Like why not, instead of sign Chris Bryant? And this is not, and we talk about this, you and I, every single time we talk about confusing signings. No shame to the player getting paid. But it's weird that the Rockies would opt to bring in a guy to play, one would assume, some combination of third base and outfield like he's been doing his whole career, when instead you could bring up minor league guys. And it feels like the Rockies haven't figured out where they are as a team yet. They're not bad. Like the Cubs got bad so that they could kind of figure out some pieces, and they're going to slowly start making some signings like we saw with the big splashy Japanese signing, which we'll talk about too in a little bit. And where their holes are is not immediately obvious because it's the whole team. It's the whole team. It's the whole damn team. So knowing what you can solve in-house and what needs to be addressed via free agency or the trade market is not obvious because, wow, it's your whole entire goddamn team. So I guess they could say we're going to build around Chris Bryant. The Cubs couldn't. I mean, they walked away with a single World Series in like a 6-year playoff window.
Yeah, but they started when he was young and not 30 years old.
Yeah.
The Rockies have 3 prospects in the top 100. Only one of them is ranked above 93.
Oh, God.
Zach Veen, the 49th ranked prospect. I mean, Ryan Rollison, a left-handed pitcher, the 95th ranked prospect, is due to make his debut this year in 2022. Zach Veen is expected next year in 2023. Benny Montgomery, the 93rd best prospect in baseball, isn't due until 2025. So you have two prospects making their debut, two premier prospects, in the next 2 years. What you've traded away all the other ones, or they're on this roster hidden away, and boy, that it's nothing really jumping off the page as far as great young talent. Garrett Hampson was a top prospect. He's okay. Brendan Rodgers was supposed to be a very good prospect, and we haven't seen much from him. I don't know. I don't know why in the world they would sign a guy like Chris Bryant.
And even on top of that, not just a guy like Chris Bryant, their other signings are absolutely confounding because they're all. So, maybe you could say, all right, they're going for an offense team because their pitching sucks and pitching takes the longest to correct. We still see teams like the Dodgers, who we always think have maxed out their pitching, trying to get more pitching. The Padres, when we thought they were going to be a good pitching team, went out and got more pitching. The Yankees, who are a good pitching team, are trying to get more pitching. So we could say, all right, so they got Chris Bryant. NL is now adopting the DH. Maybe they're going offense heavy first. Look at the rest of their signings. It's nothing but fucking pitchers. It's Alex Colomé, relief pitcher, Chad Kuhl, who's a starter, Julius Chassin, who's a starter, JD Hammer, who's a minor league guy, Scott Schebler, who's a minor league center fielder. Great name. And then Jose Iglesias, who is a shortstop, who I guess will be taking the spot of fucking Trevor Story. So, I mean, outside of that, it's like a bunch of fifth, fourth starters. Like, oh, wow, we need someone who is capable of throwing even 110 innings in the season. Let's go get some guys. And it's like, look, that's fine. Every team needs some guys. But these aren't sneaky, under the radar, promising young dudes or bounce back candidates. Julius Chassin has been on every team in the Americas, independent and up. It's like, we all know who Julius Chassin is. And honestly, Chad Kuhl, like, he could be better for sure, but it's not like, again, it's not like he's a guy that I'd expect like a big bounce back from, like everyone kind of expected a little bit with, or hoped for a little bit with, like a Jameson Taillon or a James Paxton. Like, these aren't those signings. These are seemingly the signings of a team who is not trying, plus Chris Bryant. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah, I mean, I get why you would sign that contract if you're Chris Bryant, because it's a lot of money. At the same time, if you're Chris Bryant, why are you signing this contract?
And then that's the other half of it, which is really like, you just saw Trevor Story essentially like thumb his nose at this team because he wasn't a fan of how they treated him, and he didn't think that team could win. Apparently, from a report I saw, the Rockies offered more money than the Red Sox did, and Trevor Story said, "Go fuck yourselves. I think Boston gives me a better chance to win now," which he is right. I mean, Chris Bryant has a World Series ring, so maybe it doesn't mean as much to him, which is fair. Collect your paycheck, I get it, but it's a head scratcher. We spent a lot of time on Chris. I guess let's move on. This one is so fucking weird. We could keep talking about this. Like, I feel like that never happens with baseball signings.
Yeah, this could easily be an episode
on its own. It really could be. Like, I had another theory that I'm just going to sit on now because it's so pointless, because wow, we could talk about this all day. So
I want to hear it though.
The only theory, all right, real quick. The only other thing I could think is that the Rockies front office said to themselves, I don't know who the fuck these guys are. And if I don't know who the fuck these guys are, who's going to buy tickets to come to see us? You know what we need? We need a guy whose face can be on the season ticket holder box we send out to our season ticket holders. And that guy is Chris Bryant. Only thing I could think of.
I mean, on one hand, sure, that's very plausible. At the same time, that's a lot of money.
I know that's
for a photo.
See, this could be a whole goddamn episode, because that's what I was thinking in contrast to my own thought, though, of is the math for the front office that having one all-star player is more valuable to you from a profit perspective than $26 million per year. Like, are the Rockies expecting to generate $26 million in profit to offset that salary from having one guy with a recognizable face and a good looking mug? Like, is that it? Because if that's the case, boy howdy, are these players underpaid, which we knew already. But I don't fucking know, man. I don't fucking know.
I want to know.
So, all right.
Now
let's move on. So the other two more of the top five, three of the top five contracts in terms of size, total size, not AAV, were all handed out within the last week, basically. So the next one is the fourth biggest contract, which was really, I'm not going to say a surprise, but was really a very watched signing. It was Freddie Freeman going to the Dodgers. We'll start there. I hate when people kind of like tease it too much. But it was really so up in the air. And I think so much more up in the air than I was expecting. Like when the reports started early last season that Freddie Freeman hadn't signed a contract, and it's like, oh, so weird. Freddie hasn't signed an extension yet. The Braves haven't offered him an extension yet. Can't believe that. It's like, oh, shut the fuck up. They're going to give him a contract, like he's the face of the franchise to a certain extent. Like, that's what, it just hasn't happened yet. I wouldn't put too much stock into it. And then got midway through the season and Braves fans started to be like, fucking weird, we haven't extended Freddie yet. And I was like, yeah, but like, it'll happen. They're going to do it. And then it became the offseason and they didn't extend Freddie. And then there was a lockout. And then, there was reports of the Dodgers, he's a California kid. And there was reports of the Yankees, they got a lot of money. Reports of the Mets, they'd figure it out. Lo and behold, the man's a fucking Dodger. And the contract itself, 6 years, $162 million. So that's $27 a year, which will have him playing through his age 38 season. What is a combination for me of fuck the Dodgers. Why do they need all this many good players? And goddamn, is it cool seeing one team get all these goddamn players?
If I was a baseball fan at large, I would love this because this would be such a fun team to watch. But because I have a team that I root for and a quote unquote favorite team, which happens to be the biggest rival of said team, this fucking sucks, dude. Like, could you imagine if this team wore like the Red Sox cap? If this team just was the Red Sox, that would suck.
I would be deeply hurt.
I fucking hate this. Like, it's
deeply hurt.
I know they already have, like, they had the best roster in baseball already. Like, there was no question about it. They already had that locked up. And then you add perennially one of the best hitters in baseball. The fuck are we also, like, what are we supposed to do? What's the hope? That
I know,
like 6 players get hurt or 6 players all slump in the postseason?
And that's what's wild about it.
Physically lose all of their, pitchers.
Is that the Dodgers went out to bolster up first base, and last year their first baseman had an OPS plus of 138. Like, it's not even like it was an issue. And they went out and were like, we can do better. We can do more. And they got Freddy, and it's fucking what here's a number that's super fun. Freddie Freeman is now, I guarantee
this will not be a fun number.
Freddie Freeman is now the highest paid player on the Dodgers.
What?
Yeah, the Dodgers' biggest contract is now to Freddie Freeman, which is wild and really breaks the idea for me of how we think about positional value. The number 2 guy is Mookie Betts. He's making 22.5. Justin Turner, third baseman, making 20. Trey Turner, who is projected to make this arbitration cycle 18-5. Cody Bellinger, who's projected to make 17. Kershaw is making 17. Price is making 16. You can keep going down the list. It gets smaller, of course. But it's wild to think that on a team this ridiculously stacked with all these great players at premier positions, old as some of them may be, looking at you, Justin Turner, Freddie fucking Freeman is the highest paid Dodger.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm really not a fan.
I mean, it's impressive. And it's like, it's a, do you think this is a good thing because Freeman got a lot of money and did not give a hometown discount? Because I think we can both agree that when they happen to your team, you take it every time because it means you got a good player and the owners can't hide behind paying out a gigantic contract. But I think we can also agree from a neutral perspective that hometown discounts are probably not the best thing for the labor side of the game, because it means you're willing to take less than you probably should.
Right.
So do you think this is a
works
good
fine
thing
when you have a serious, like a solid salary cap?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's baseball, so it doesn't matter.
No. But so do you think this is a good thing that Freeman was still able to get paid a choice amount of money? Or do you think this is a failure on the Braves' part for not signing him to an equivalent, if not greater amount of money?
No, because I think from the no to a either or question. I think the Braves aren't at fault here because they were able to get, Matt Olson to a much lower contract, and Matt Olson by all means is honestly in my mind an equally as good player, or at least has the potential to grow into that. And when you can make that, value proposition, you should. And you can't really fault the Dodgers for paying the market rate for a premier player. It's really more so just they shouldn't be able to do this. And I think that's kind of why we enjoy having the salary cap in other sports. Because, hey, super teams are cool for the NBA. Like, it's cool to watch LeBron James play with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. By all means, that kind of ruined the NBA, and I think a lot of people agree with that, at least to some extent. I don't think this is good for baseball to have the Dodgers, be able to do this and be able to do this at will.
Well, and I would say that now that I've looked at what the Dodgers are giving players, now that I see that most of their contracts are sub 20 million a year, which obviously it makes sense that most of them are that. But when you think about the Dodgers, I guess you don't think that. Like, a lot of these contracts are contracts that other teams can so readily do. Now, obviously, the Dodgers have to their advantage the fact that they are always in the World Series.
In baseball.
Yeah, right. Like they're gonna win their division. They just barely didn't last year because the Giants decided to be hilariously good. And all famous franchise, big fancy town, blah 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 blah. But I really see this as less of a dot. Like, it's funny that money has become a market inefficiency. It used to be that money was how the market was decided, and then the Moneyball movement came around, and it was, hey, concepts like on base percentage are a market inefficiency. The idea of OPS and slugging relative to just batting average is a market inefficiency. Like being an effective ball player is a market inefficiency. And now it's, I don't want to pay money to get people who are good. And it's crazy that it's come to that, but it feels like it has, because like there's no team in ball today that couldn't give Chris Taylor what is he on, a 4-year, $60 million? Yeah, 4-year, $60 million contract. Every team in baseball could give that contract out 10 times out of 10, 30 times out of 30.
Again, I think it's just another reason to argue the salary cap. Any player in the world who could play for the Dodgers would probably want to play for the Dodgers if they were getting market rates. It shouldn't be, the reason we have a draft is because if every player came out of college and was a free agent, all of them would have signed with the Tom Brady Patriots for the past 20 years. They would have gotten to pick the litter if ever they wanted. And that's not how you create a sports league that is competitive and has parity. It's not sustainable. And if the Dodgers can literally sign the best player at essentially every fucking position because they can afford to pay it and there's nothing stopping them from paying them all, they're going to do it.
Real quick, an interesting thing. I was looking at the Dodgers batting splits because their first base, because he played the majority of his innings there, I assume, saw that Max Muncy was positioned as their first baseman for the majority of the season on Baseball Reference and his 138 OPS plus. However, the Dodgers' actual first baseman production, be it whoever played first base in the game, was actually a 99 OPS plus, which is good for the third lowest position, hitting position on the team, which now makes sense as to why they would go sign a first baseman. Mm-hmm. So in case we were all wondering, there's your answer. The lowest were center field and right field, which right field being that low is also very interesting because their right fielder I thought was Mookie Betts. It is. He had a good year last year. Weird. I'm not getting into the Dodgers roster breakdown. If you're a fellow nerd with way more time than me, that's an interesting article. But I'm not writing it. So anyway, that's Freddie Freeman. We'll get into the Atlanta side of it later. But Trevor Story also signed a contract, as we had alluded to earlier, with the Boston Red Sox for 6 years, $140 million. It's 23.333 a season, and sends him to a team that already has a well-hitting shortstop. So this is kind of an interesting move, and it goes along with a thing that has become, I think, a little bit more focused on in the past few years as teams have put less emphasis on position and more emphasis on quality, because there is, I think, a new adage forming, which is if he's good, you'll find a place to play him, in essence. So, yeah, Trevor Story, welcome to Boston. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I don't know. How does it make you feel?
I'm not a Yankees fan. I am not really worried about the Red Sox. They're in a completely different league, whatever. If I was a Yankees fan, I imagine I'd feel the same way about this as I would about Freddie Freeman. Just because, boy, I don't want to deal with this fucking guy. This guy's really good. Why? The Red Sox are already pretty good. Why? I'm not really worried about where they're going to fit him. I think between him, Bogarts, and I feel like they have another guy there, but regardless, they'll get their playing time in. That's not really something I'm at all concerned about. Hey, Red Sox are going to be good. What else can you say?
Yeah, it's always interesting seeing a player leave the pitching environment that is Coors. We talk about the hitting environment a lot. I think really at this point the biggest difference is probably the pitching environment. Trevor Story, a career 103 OPS plus, which is interesting. Sorry, career 112. Last year hit 103. It was a big down year for him in his free agent year, but people also talked about the fact that he seemed like he really just was fucking done of being in Colorado, which I honestly sympathize with.
Yeah.
I get it. So in reality, his median or his median OPS plus is more like 120, which puts him squarely in line with where Xander Bogaerts tends to be in a typical year with his career average of 115 OPS plus. Trevor Story is the much better fielder, but with reported concerns about his elbow health and the miles per hour he's able to generate on his throws to home. Apparently, Trevor Story would be the one moving over to second instead of Bogaerts, which I mean will be fine for the Red Sox second base defense. It still leaves their shortstop defense pretty shitty. But who knows how much it means, you know? I'm just waiting to see how much
their
of an impact
defense
it
does
is.
get marginally worse, their offense gets significantly better.
So I guess Trevor Story, if he goes to second, would be taking the place of. Hold on, I just had the Red Sox fucking roster up. Who played second base for the Red Sox last year? Oh, Christian Arroyo, and his 102 OPS plus last season, which was the same as Trevor Story's. Yeah, it's tough to know how the Red Sox are going to shake out the roster. I'd imagine this means Christian Arroyo is probably gone. I don't know why you'd keep him around because you have Enrique Hernandez if you want to have like a utility bench player, but who cares? It doesn't really matter. It makes the Red Sox better. I'm annoyed less that he's on the Red Sox, and I'm more annoyed that the Red Sox are clearly spending money in what is, I think, a much looser playoff window than the Yankees. I think the Yankees have more going for them at the moment. Maybe it's just in pitching, but I still think that's pitching matters more because it's tougher to be secure in that. So it's annoying to see the Red Sox investing in their lineup when the Yankees are seemingly shedding pieces and trying to scrimp and save, which is frustrating, very frustrating. But whatever, who cares? Good for Trevor Story for going to a better team, though.
Yeah, good on you.
All right, so there's other signings, and we've been going for a little bit, so we're obviously not going to be grinding to a halt. But I'm going to try to cherry pick a few of them. So I'm going to skip down a little bit to what I think might be the most shocking signing of all of them so far. And that is Carlos Correa going to the Twins for only 3 years. Which every part of that sentence for me felt more insane as I was reading it when it first dropped.
It's just why? Like, this is just another why. What do you gain? Like, what is the advantage for your career going to Minnesota? I'm not saying like Minnesota's, an absolute garbage pile. It's not, but like genuinely, like what can you get in Minnesota that you can't get anywhere else?
An easy road to the playoffs. That's one of the other things I was trying to think of. As we have talked about so frequently on this show, the AL Central is a joke, and you don't really have to try very hard as a GM to make your team marginally better than the second best guy. So
sure.
Maybe I almost view it as a prove it deal in a weird. It's like you have to wonder if the market for Correa maybe wasn't as big as he wanted, maybe because there were too many other big name players in his class, or maybe because there's concerns over his back. He has missed time in his young career because of his back problems. So maybe that's a factor there. But it almost feels like he's trying to delay things a little bit. But the reason why is what I can't really wrap my head around. Like, sorry, I keep starting the sentence and stopping it. But like, I don't think there's a problem with a Bryce Harper style contract. I know we've talked about Correa being worth $33 million a year for like 10 years because he's so fucking young.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the other part of it that's weird is if you want the security of being able to play for a long time, a Bryce Harper contract's not. It's just so fucking fascinating, man. It's so fucking fascinating.
I agree. I don't think it changes my pure confusion of again, why?
I know, right? It's puzzling.
Is there really no other team that would be willing to give him a long-term contract? Like
All right,
truly,
hold
like
on. Let's work this out a little bit. So, team payrolls, the Dodgers are already rocking a $270 million payroll for this season. So absorbing, let's call it 35. Well, let's stretch out the years. So let's call it like, I don't know, 32, just to make it slightly lower.
Sure.
$32 million payroll would blow them wide over the luxury, the fourth luxury tax threshold.
Mhm.
The Mets are currently sitting at 250, so that would put them at a little over 280. So maybe, I mean, I think that puts them right around the fourth payroll threshold as well. They also just paid Francisco Lindor, so they're not really in the market for a shortstop anyway. So leave that to the side. The Yankees is where it gets a little bit more confusing because they're sitting at 235 right now. So they can't be under the luxury tax threshold, which this year will be at 230. They could have if they did not take on Josh Donaldson's contract and then had the room to have Correa and be under the luxury tax threshold, which is hilariously stupid that they, didn't do that, but they could have. So I don't really get that there. That's a head scratcher, but we'll leave that to the side. Fourth biggest payroll is the Padres, who wouldn't sign him until they figure out if Tatis is going to be a long-term answer at short or not.
They wouldn't sign him regardless. They had like the number 6 prospect in baseball as a shortstop for them. So
fair. Yeah, there's positionally they have some internal things to figure out, I think is the easiest way to put it. White Sox, at 183 mil, they certainly could. It would put them under the luxury tax threshold, sitting around 215. But I'm not surprised the White Sox aren't signing $30 million players. I'll put it that way. The Phillies would have been fucking fascinating. Because their current shortstop is Didi Gregorius. You can replace him in a heartbeat. And signing Correa would have only put them also at around 215, which for the Phillies, I don't think would have mattered very much. That's fucking weird, actually. The Phillies totally should have done that.
Agreed.
Braves and Red Sox both sitting around 170. Both seemingly could have done it. The Braves are paying Dansby Swanson right now. So again, not a big loss if you have to move on from Dansby. Red Sox, I guess they chose Story. Who fucking cares? Angels, which, oh God, who knows what the Angels are going to do in a given day. And then, honestly, I didn't realize the Astros payroll was so fucking low. 160 mil. They could have re-signed Correa and been, $38 million under the luxury tax.
Well, okay.
So yeah, I get it from some of the other usual suspects, maybe, but really, as we go farther down the list, it honestly gets more puzzling. Like the Cubs, because they just signed, oh God, what's his fucking name? The Japanese guy that was kind of like a sweepstakes.
Seiya Suzuki.
Yeah, I'm gonna butcher his name, so we'll just go with that. And like, I'm not saying that that's the sign that like they're going to open the floodgates and like really go for it. But if they wanted to have a long-term solution at shortstop, especially right after moving on from their previous long-term shortstop in Javi Baez, this could have been an interesting offseason for them to do it too. I mean, they really don't have that much payroll right now for the Cubs. 123 mil. It's lower than league average. Man, it's wild. It really is. So that's the money from, I guess, the Twins' perspective. From Correa's perspective, he is set for life with this contract, right?
Of course, yeah.
It's $105 million that you're getting from the ages of 27 to 30. You're set for life. So maybe he's willing to gamble on getting that annually for another 8 years after this on a second contract.
That would make a lot of sense. The only thing that I've seen,
so much risk though,
that stood out to me, it definitely is the Yankees only have like 23 guys under contract in the year that this expires, 2025, I think it is. Numbers are hard.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds right.
If this is just his way of still trying to go to the Yankees and lining up to give himself the best chance to do so, okay.
Well, and I would say you wouldn't even have to look that far out because he has player opt-outs after every season. He has player opt-outs after 22 and 23, and then after 24, he's an unrestricted free agent, and he has a full no trade clause for 23 and 24. So it almost seems like this is an insurance deal for Correa. Like if he plays, like I would imagine he's going to test his market every single season, at least behind the scenes in ways we don't understand. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be surprised if Correa plays, 145 games next season with his usual stellar defense and solid hitting. And of course, murders the AL Central, which is bad. And then opts out and signs a gigantic deal. And then I conversely wouldn't be surprised if he got hurt this upcoming season and then didn't opt out and just kept doing that until he was healthy.
Yeah. Honestly, knowing that how those opt-outs are structured, that makes a ton of sense.
Actually, I think that's the reading of it. This feels like 3 consecutive prove-it deals, but tied together for a little bit of security.
Absolutely.
Because no other team, I think, would sign this. Like, you wouldn't want to have this much positional insecurity unless you were willing to put up with the fact that you might have to reorganize that position, a major position in the short term. And I think a team that would be most willing to do that is a team that probably plays in a shitty division and would be okay with losing significant money from the books in exchange for being good for just a couple years, like the Twins.
Yeah.
Like the Twins playoff window being open for 3 years would be the longest playoff window they've had since fucking the 80s.
Hey, I would love to see the Twins finally come back and do something after fumbling it away in the playoffs, which is, what they do.
Twins way.
I'm not rooting against Correa any more than I would any other player from that Astros team, but well, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So there's, that's its own whole thing, but I feel like we got to an answer on it kind of. There's obviously a lot more signings to get to. Nick Castellanos and Kyle Schwarber are going to make the Phillies fascinating. But let's take a leap over real quick to look at some of the trades and acquisitions that have happened to get an understanding of, I guess, really what's been shaken out on that side of things, which is, part and parcel with making free agent trades or free agent acquisitions, which brings, I guess, to the first one that can tie into the one that hurt Josh's heart the most, which is on March 12th. The Rangers sent Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Ronnie Enriquez over to the Minnesota Twins in exchange for catcher Mitch Garver. And then the following day, in addition to also acquiring Sonny Gray and Francis Peguero from the Cincinnati Reds in exchange for Chase Petty, the Twins turned around and traded Josh Donaldson and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, as well as Brent Rortvedt, in exchange for catcher Gary Sanchez and shortstop third base Giovanni Urshela, which is a wild trade for the Yankees and a very interesting trade for the Twins. On the Twin side of it, this frees up a ton of payroll and gives them, low floor, high ceiling players in terms of hitting, good defense for short, and really for third, because they'll be moving on to have Correa play it at short. And it honestly improves their offense, because I'd say that Sanchez and Urshela and Correa is so much better than Donaldson and Kiner-Falefa would be in those same, from a cumulative standpoint. So from the Twin side, this is amazing. From the Yankee side, I don't get it.
Why? Like, what's your go-to reasoning? Like, what is your? You are so closer to this than I am. I just want to hear your thoughts.
So I think we're operating under the guise here that the Yankees officially are obviously they fucking traded him away, but they were done with Gary Sanchez and didn't think that he was going to be able to not just be the answer for them going forward, but be able to provide for them the combination of defense and offense that they had been looking for just for this upcoming season. And I guess are feeling more confident in Kyle Higashioka's ability to be a standout defender, as well as provide a reliable bat. Kyle Higashioka and his career 65 OPS plus, and his career 0.5 WAR, 0.4 of which was earned last season, compared to Gary Sanchez's career 113 OPS plus and 11.7 WAR. So wildly different players. They're really cutting themselves off at the knees, trying to avoid, I guess, the damage of a genuinely terrible Gary Sanchez season. But Gary Sanchez's worst season is a pretty average season for Kyle Higashioka in terms of offense. So I'm really, I don't get from that perspective. And yeah, Gary's not the best defender, but I'm not sure if what we know as defense in terms of being able to just pick at the balls is all that matters here, because Gary's also been known to call a good game from what we understand from pitchers. So it doesn't seem, the improvement seems so marginal. I don't get it from there. Now you could say that Josh Donaldson, obviously a better hitter than Gary Sanchez. You would be right. Josh Donaldson, career 135 OPS plus. He plays a premier position, third base. And I do get it in a certain extent from that perspective, but with the size of his contract and who we had available, Carlos Correa, for exceedingly similar amounts of money, I again don't get it. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is a guy. He's there to play shortstop. He's there to play shortstop better than Gio would be playing shortstop, which is fair. Gio is a fine shortstop, not a great shortstop. Kiner-Falefa is genuinely a good defensive shortstop. So if you want to improve team defense, I would say that, yes, this improves team defense. Is team defense the Yankees' biggest issue? I mean, obviously their defense has been kind of shaky the past couple of years, but I mean, I'd rather be, hey, I might eat these words, but I'm going to say them. I think I'd rather be the Phillies with the ability to mash dongs day in, day out, sunrise to sunset, than have super clean infield defense and kind of sort of hit like the Cardinals, I guess. And we're not built like the Cardinals, so it's not going to work, but whatever. And it's like the actual cost of the accumulations hurt my soul because we lost Gary, but the opportunity cost is so much worse because you absorbed $50 million of Donaldson contract that could have gone towards Correa money. And for that reason, it makes absolutely no sense. And I just struggle. I struggle to see the added value plus understanding what we missed out on to make this trade really worth it. I just don't fucking get it. Why go through so many more roster changes when you could have just signed a guy? One guy. I don't get it.
I really don't get it either.
Do the Yankees need to be more right-handed? That's just throw that out there too. Do they?
Yeah,
The Yankees need to be more right-handed?
I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that that is something that was a well-discussed topic to begin with.
The answer is fucking no. And look, both the guys they traded away were right-handed. Both the guys they traded for were right-handed. But you know what? Stop making the Yankees so goddamn right-handed. If you're going to be making trades, give me some fucking lefties. But whatever. Leaving that to the side.
I don't know. Like, I don't even know if the Yankees got better. Because I
would say they got better in a very marginal sense, but not in a way that's going to be a great impact, I wouldn't think.
Yeah. I mean, I like Gary. I like rooting for Gary. He was a fun Yankee to root for. Josh Donaldson was really fun to root for a while ago. Do you think his issues with Garrett Cole are going to become something, or do you think there are two grown men that can get over it because it's their job?
I think it's going to be two grown men who get over it because it's their job.
I don't know. I much prefer the other Yankees trade that we'll get to.
Yeah, well, I understand that for your side of things. Yeah, the Yankees got better, which I guess it's hard to argue against getting better. It's just the manner in which they got better compared to other ways they could have gotten better that makes me sad. So,
agreed. You wish those efforts were invested elsewhere.
Those efforts and those monies. So, I mean, Josh Donaldson's going to give you good third base defense and a really solid bat. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is going to give you really good shortstop defense and a really hard to watch bat. Which I guess both of those combined are the sum of their product will probably be better than what, from a WAR perspective, than what Gary and Gio got you. I mean, just last year in 2021, Donaldson and Falefa combined for, we'll call that 7 WAR, and Gary and Gio Urshela combined for 1.3. So, yeah, I mean, Kiner-Falefa's glove is for real. Josh Donaldson has always had a good bat. I do get it. Go get me Correa, and instead of improving by about 6 WAR, you could have improved by like 7, 8 very easily. One guy. But whatever. All right. I guess let's do some more trades, and let's get into the bigger ones that don't affect just me. And that would be the one that took place the day after the Donaldson trade, in which Atlanta and Oakland had a blockbuster, and Atlanta sent to Oakland Christian Pache, Shea Langelier, Joey Estes, and Ryan Cusick in exchange for Matt fucking Olson.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Olson.
They extended Matt Olson as well, too.
They did. I'm getting that contract detail up right now, but that was Matt Olson's whereabouts had been discussed for a while, but because, for me anyway, Atlanta seemed like if they were going to give money to a first baseman, like I'm so wrapped up with them with the Freeman talks, I didn't even consider them as a possible landing spot for Olsen. And then there he went and got extended to an 8-year, $168 million contract, which if you're keeping score at home is $6 million more total than Freddie Freeman's contract, but with a slightly lower AAV. Freeman's 27, Olsen's, well, not slightly, 21. It's significantly lower. But Olsen, much younger. Olsen is heading into his age 28 season, whereas Freddie Freeman will be heading into his age, I guess it's 33, 32, 32, his age 32 season. So 4 years younger with a comparable bat, I guess we could say, and comparable defense. Out of nowhere, really, but from a brutal numbers standpoint, that makes a lot of fucking sense.
I don't get how the Braves can just get these guys to agree to these contract numbers that are so hilarious when you look at them both individually and just as a whole, how they can just agree to get paid below market rate so significantly. I mean, I know Matt Olson's isn't anywhere close to what they did to Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna, but still, it's like, what dirt do you have on these guys?
Unless this says more about the first base market, but it doesn't make any sense. Freeman got a higher AAV. Both guys are left-handed bats. Both guys play decent first base defense, which is not a defensive heavy position in the first place.
Matt Olson plays very good first base defense, I will say.
As does Freeman. Like they both do. I'm just trying not to overstate the impact of first base defense. I just now, granted, Olson is less proven, I will say, than Freeman is. Matt Olson's OPS plus by season is very up and down. So in 2017, 166, fucking awesome. 4th place rookie of the year. 2018, it was 117. Not bad, but a pretty big dip from where he was the year prior. 2019, 139, up another 22 points from the year over. 2020, 103, huge down year from where he had just been, 36 points lower. And then 2021, 153. So, I mean, massively up again. And, we've been through this and talking about Gary Sanchez. It's not the worst thing in the world to have dips as long as those upward swings keep coming and you know that there's the potential to have that. But that's the only thing I could think of is maybe hampering his market rate. Like Freddie Freeman's career 138 OPS plus comes with significantly less fluctuations in his ability to produce a number near that. And maybe that's it. But even that seems like a tough sell over an 8-year stretch. So who knows?
Yeah. Do you think they take that, was it league, that conference again?
Well, I mean, that's the interesting thing because we've been saying for years, like if the Mets just don't suck like that's all it takes for them to win. And we saw it happen for most of the season last year where the Mets were on top of their division and cruising and then got shellacked in the latter half. Obviously Atlanta got better. The Phillies, I think, did get better, even if their defense is going to be a bunch of Benny Hill music over Scooby-Doo like scenarios.
It's gonna be fucking hilarious.
It's going to be so great. I'm so excited. Like every team got better, so it's tough to know in the vacuum what'll happen. I think the Mets probably got the most better. I think. But fuck, I have no idea.
Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom. It's a fucking killer type combo.
Yeah, I was predicating they got the most better solely on the back of Max Scherzer because that should be enough.
It really should.
But I don't know.
It's Max fucking Scherzer.
Speaking of blockbuster Oakland trades, and this will be the penultimate trade that we talk about today because my voice is getting tired. Oakland made another stunner as they shed another star they send Matt Chapman to the Toronto Blue Jays in exchange for Gunnar Hoagland, Kevin Smith, Zach Logue, and Kirby Snead, which really is quite a lot of people. I do not know who they are. But regardless, yes, that's what I was about to say. Regardless, the big name, obviously, is Matt Chapman, who has spent so far his entire career in Oakland, 5-year career, along with 2 platinum gloves, is heading over to the East Coast as he joins the already stacked AL East, and a Toronto team that had, I guess, a question mark around third base, but not one that I thought was gigantic. Although now I'm realizing that Santiago Espinal played the majority of their innings at third base last year, and I'm now realizing why they traded for Matt Chapman. But yeah, I guess
that'll be quite the defensive upgrade from Vlad Guerrero.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Yeah, I for some reason in my mind he was still there, and man, he is not. So yeah, they're getting platinum glove defense. There's been some comments about Chapman's offense, which we'll get to in a second. But I mean, what do you think of this trade as a Matt Chapman lover?
As a Matt Chapman lover, I'm upset. I'm hurt. I love seeing him in that Kelly Green. At the end of the day, I just have to remind myself he's not dying. He's still there. He's still my boy. I just don't want to see him have to, leave. It's Matt Chapman. Let him stay. Let him stay in his home.
No, this is just an early scene in Moneyball 2, more money, less money, more balls. Moneyball 2 ballin'. This is, they got to have a shot of them pulling down the Matt Chapman banner in front of the stadium.
What's the release date on that?
Moneyball 2, less money, more balls. It's coming out in September of 2023.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because that gives plenty of time for the A's to go on a 40-game winning streak. Double is good.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And they finally upgrade away from Sam's Choice Cola. They finally get Coke on board.
Wow. What a huge win for the Moneyballs.
Yep. And it's that early success of brand name cola that rockets them to a 20-game win streak. 40-game win streak. Sorry,
that's all that was missing. That's what Dombrowski could have offered him in Boston if he went. He would have had name brand cola. He would have had a World Series. That's all you need to know.
You know what's funny though is that in a world in which the A's actually do win 40 straight games and go, I don't know, 130-30, they still lose in like the second round of the playoffs.
Without question.
It's like, oh no, we gotta play the Twins. We can do it. And then they couldn't. If Billy Beane's team won 40 straight regular season games and they got bounced in the second round of the playoffs, I think he has to be put on suicide watch. At that point, as a GM, what do you do?
I don't think you can go back to that team.
No, honestly, if I was him, if I put together a regular season team that won 40 straight fucking games and then they still didn't make it to the World Series, I would quit. I would retire from the sport. You've peaked. You have done everything you could possibly fucking do. You would have had a team that won 40 straight games and they couldn't get done in the playoffs. Fuck you. I'm done. Fuck you. Fuck you. I got a kid who's singing stupid songs in my radio. I got to go watch her grow up. She's already an adult. I've missed so much. I have grandkids I don't know the names of. I have to leave.
That is 100% what I meant. You have lost me. If you guys have a true utter collapse in the playoffs, you're on your own. You are just done to me. You're dead.
What's the fewest number of games you'd have to win consecutively to have that reaction from you? So obviously 40 is not
MLB records what, 21?
21 or 22. I know it was the Cleveland team.
like 30. I think 30 would be the number because I like 22 is crazy. But like, has the team that's gone on a 22 game win streak ever won the World Series?
Team's never gone on a 22 game win streak, so no.
The team that has the record, have they ever gone on to win the World Series?
I mean, I can't imagine because the A's didn't win it either. So, hold on, let's see. Actually, I'm sure it has. I'm sure it's some like 1915 Giants team. MLB longest win streak. There we go. All right, so it's technically it's the 1916 Giants who went on a 26 game win streak, but there's like ties in there, and it's 1916. You guys didn't have like the fucking color television sets, pre-color television. I do not care. Then Cleveland won 22 in 2017. The Cubs won 21. 1935. Who fucking cares? The A's won 20 in 2002. Come on, color TV. Show me some. Yankees won 19 in 1947, but no color TV. Who cares? Color TV. Cardinals. The Cardinals winning 17 last year is like the most recent one. Yeah. So it doesn't look frequent. No, it does not.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So what were we talking about? Oh, Matt Chapman going to the Blue Jays. Yeah. So their defense obviously improves dramatically, which is a good thing for them. I mean, Bo Bichette is from what I can understand, a decent shortstop defensively. He has been putting together positive DWAR every season, which, DWAR we're always suspect of, but having it be positive is never a bad sign. Marcus Semien has been proven to be a really solid second baseman defensively, getting Vlad Guerrero from third base to first base, obviously a big improvement. And then getting Matt Chapman is obviously a huge improvement, especially because they do have some pretty big ground ball pitchers like, fucking goddamn it, stupid fucking names. Hyun-Jin Ryu. Thank you so much. Fuck me. And honestly, same thing with like Steven Matz and Jose Barrios. Like those are guys who are going to get you some ground balls, and it's good to have a good right side of the infield for that exact reason. Offensively, I know Matt Chapman had kind of a down year last year. It was his lowest OPS plus of his career, as he batted 210, 314, 403, an OPS plus of 100 even. But his career average is 120, and obviously would have been higher if not been dragged down by last season. I'm really not that worried. Obviously, the pitching in the AL East is rather good, so it might suffer a little bit, but he's got a very reliable bat. He's going to get you 20 plus homers every year. I'm not concerned with Matt Chapman offensively.
No, I'm not either. I mean, obviously, we're not worried about him defensively, but no, I think he's a perfectly adequate player to right the ship and get back to his form. And at the end of the day, strikeouts aren't the end of the world. We see that literally all the time.
Yeah, like for me, this signing or trade or whatever hurts much more than the Trevor Story one. I fear Matt Chapman more than I fear Trevor Story.
I love Matt Chapman more than I love Trevor Story, so I agree this also hurts more for that reason.
He's going to look great in that. The A's to Blue Jays pipeline produces some pretty slick uniforms, though. So if his career follows Josh Donaldson's career, that means he's winning MVP this season.
He's still getting a worse uniform.
I mean, the Blue Jays uniforms are fucking nice, dude.
Not Kelly Green.
How? But they got those gorgeous fucking royal blues. Anyway, one more trade and then we'll call it a day. San Diego Padres acquire Luke Voit from the Yankees in exchange for Justin Lang. Corwin, who is Justin Lang?
He was like in our depleted farm system, he was like our number 8 prospect, a late first round pick, young pitcher, high velocity.
How do you feel about parting with him in exchange for a first baseman who doesn't suck?
Trading for anyone that's not Eric Hosmer is good for me. I'm all about it. I think this is an absolute bargain for an offensive guy like Luke Voigt, seeing as we now have a designated hitter spot to fill. So I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, honestly, I'm happy for it too. From what I've read about this prospect, he throws incredibly fucking hard. And is a young dude, maybe a little bit raw, but he's coming up in what is a good pitcher's farm system at this point, really good pitcher development from what I've been able to gather about the Yankees' recent changes. And it's clearly been their mindset for the past few acquisitions about having more of a focus on raw ability and then refinement through their own system instead of coming in with guys, bringing in guys who are a little bit more rounded off the bat and trying to slot them in immediately, which was what the Yankees have been doing prior to this. They were very much so like, let's get a guy who's ready to be in a game and put him in the game. And there was no emphasis on progression or there's a word I'm trying to development. Jesus Christ. So I'm happy for, and I'm happy for Luke Voigt. I mean, you know, he didn't have a spot on this roster, and it wasn't fair to him because he's been a good player. He has a couple like health issues and his ability to stay on the field, but when he's on the field, dude fucking mashes. I mean, he deserves to have a starting spot. He really does. And the Padres is a great fit.
Yeah, it really is. You know, that's like the one weakness on our, infield. It'd be great to, honestly, it wouldn't be a weakness if Eric Hosmer wasn't there and we could just start our boy Cronenworth there regularly. But I feel much better knowing Voigt would be there at DH if needed, to rotate in rather than be stuck with Hosmer the whole time.
What do you think happens to Hos now?
He rides the bench.
You don't think they can move that contract?
I definitely don't think they can move that contract without adding pieces to send away with it. And I don't think they would do that. I imagine he'll get some playing time at first base, just from a defensive perspective. He's not terrible. So it'll be what it is.
Yeah. So just for career splits stats, Hosmer was I don't have any. Oh, I don't have rates. Ah, damn it. All right, hold on 1 second, folks. All right, according to Fangraphs, Eric Hosmer's career ground ball rate 54%, fly ball rate 25%. Luke Voigt's career ground ball rate 40%. That's a huge fucking difference. Oh my god. And fly ball rate 36.8%. So I mean, literally a 14 percentage point difference in the right direction for ground ball rate, and an 11 percentage point difference in the right direction in fly ball rate. And that's not even taking into account quality of contact, which honestly, don't fuck quality of contact for the moment. Just being able to not have the ground into double play king, huge difference.
Hard agree.
Huge difference. And then you want to talk quality of contact. Luke Voigt mashes. So that's not even a problem. But like, oh my God, just looking at that ground ball to fly ball ratio. Wow, what an improvement.
Yeah, no, it is a huge difference, and I'm very happy to bring our boy Luke Voigt on board.
Here's another fun one. Infield fly ball rate. Eric Hosmer last year, 11.3%. Luke Voigt, 3.6. Yeah. Home run to fly ball ratio, or percent, I guess, really. Eric Hosmer, 11.3 again. Luke Voigt, 20 last season.
Oh.
Yeah. There's some good stats. Why did we trade him away? He was good.
Oh boy, Eric Hosmer. I really wish I knew more about just contracts in general, so I could figure out a way to ship you off to literally anywhere else.
Yeah. Luke Voigt has half of the soft contact percent that Eric Hosmer does. He is 6% higher medium contact and 5 percentage points higher of hard contact. So really, I mean, it's an improvement across
Everywhere.
the board.
Everywhere.
Not a single category that I saw that Luke Voigt was not better in than Eric Hosmer, which is again what you want. So kudos to everyone involved. Round of applause.
Yeah,
for
thanks,
everybody
brother.
who did this.
Thanks, AJ.
Thanks, AJ. I believe in you, buddy, guy. Anything else, Corwin, before we wrap up?
No, I don't really have anything off the top of my head. I'm sure there actually is something I'm missing, but whatever.
There's lots of stuff still going on, which obviously we'll have to catch up on later because, there's a lot to talk about. There's still more trades and signings that we absolutely would have talked about in a different episode that we just don't have time for because there's been so much. So obviously stuff is missed. We'll catch up on what we can catch up on. For now, that's it. So if you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at JuicingPod. If you'd like to follow Corwin on Twitter, you can do so at Corwin Heller. If you'd like to follow myself on Twitter, you can do so at Joshua D. Tracy. And if you'd like to send emails to the show, you can do so at juicingthenumbers@gmail.com. Until next week, because I'll be gone later this week. Y'all have a good one.
Bye.